Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge, 5:42 a.m. Central Daylight Time, second day of June 2019. We have imported J.W. Dants blended Scotch whiskey. This is a 1 liter bottle, 1,000 milliliters. It was $8.99. True story. Here's an entire, and plus, with an added bonus, you get an entire essay on the back about Scotch whiskey. I mean, I was sitting there at the checkout line. It was kind of a long line, and I said, I'll just read that. It was very interesting. Okay. JW, not J and B, JW. Age 36 months. Wow. 3 whole years. That's the minimum. And it is bottled in Kentucky at Heaven Hill. So it's produced, put together in Scotland, and then bottled and sold over here. You see a Scottish flag and some other flag. I don't recognize. I don't recognize either one of those flags, actually. 3 fleur-de-lis, 2 lions, a shield, a knight's mask. All right, typical type appearance. All these medals that I never heard of. I don't even think they're real medals. It's like just some lady's head, some kind of other insignias. It's just trying to make it look like it did something. All right. There really was a company called J.W. Dant. They started as a bourbon producer in the 1830s. But like so many of these brands that I've been talking about here, it eventually got bought out, and now it's under the Heaven Hill line. So you might find J.W. Dant gin, J.W. Dant straight bourbon whiskey, J.W. Dant bonded bourbon. There is that. This blended Scotch whiskey, and so on and so on. Okay. Let's see. So that's it. 3 years, $8.99 a bottle. It's about as cheap as you're going to ever get Scotch in the United States. I don't know how you get it cheaper. Now here's another liter bottle. This is Inver House Green Plaid, very rare Scotch whiskey. Well, it is rare around here because only one store sells it, to my knowledge. And it was $11.99 per bottle. So we're talking about a $3 difference. First question, will I be able to tell the Green Plaid from the J.W. Dant? I don't know. I don't know. It could be tough. Now, the Inver House is bottled in Illinois by Barton, meaning Sazerac. It says right there, Sazerac.com. Chicago, Illinois, Barton Imports, which Sazerac bought 10 years ago. Same old, great, super light, wonderful Scotch whiskeys. They're going to say all that. It's so fabulous, and it's only $11.99 a bottle for a liter. And this one's so fabulous, it's only $8.99. And you're saying to yourself, I don't know how they could be that awesome, being that cheap. Well, you know the answer. Now, Inver House, on the other hand, is a real distillery. It's a number of distilleries in Scotland. It's not just one. And they make all kind of products, like Hinky Bannister or so. But it's owned by a Thai company in Thailand. The first thing you see on that company's website is the King of Thailand when you click on it. It's like, hail to our new king. And then you go into the website. I think it's called Interbev. I believe that's what it's called. Okay. So now off to the races. And I'm gonna be careful with this one, not screwed up like the last one. I had to reshoot it yesterday with the blended American. So we went from blended American now to blended Scotch. Oh boy. So Inver House from 1961, Dant. I don't know how long they've been making Dant Scotch. All right. Remember, it started as a bourbon company, but what happened was the company was pretty big, and so they decided, well, we'll just make contracts to bring in Scotch and sell it under our name. So it was never like they had it wasn't like they owned a distillery in Scotland. Some of these companies do. Most just, they'll make a deal. Let's make a deal. They'll farm it out, and then they've got their product. That's fine. Only see Dant products in Metairie, New Orleans, maybe. I don't see that kind of stuff out in these far suburbs, like rural areas, these rural routes. You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen it. Now, Inver House, no way. We get a limited offering out here. Well, it makes sense. 25,000 people as opposed to 325,000 people. We get a remarkable amount of beer offerings. Well, I think Mathern's is pulling in people from the west, St. James Parish, and from the east, St. Charles Parish. So you have that. And they do have a pretty good liquor selection, but it can't be too extensive, because if it was, they'd be sitting on it. You know what I mean? It'd just be sitting there. They'd be sitting on it. It wouldn't. They sell a lot of Crown Royal, but exotic liquor brands around here, you can only have so many, and then you're stuck with it. If you're in a city, different. Okay, appearance time. All right. We can see that poured a little bit more Dant. I think that's Dant. Yeah. Dant is a little darker. The Inver House is lighter. Well, it says on the thing, light whiskey. Do they have color added? I don't know. They're aged 3 years. Yeah. Do they even have an age statement on here? Yep, aged 3 years. Okay, so they have an age statement. I thought so. Our recollection of David with the big beard, he was saying, I like it. And he said, it's incredible. It's $8.99. He went and bought a bottle. But he says he didn't really understand like the whole blended whiskey concept, I don't think. And I was explaining to him how they use grain whiskey as the filler, like that's the bulk of it, the 80% of it probably. And he said, what's the filler made out of? I said, well, in Asia, it's rice. And he knows that now. I'm talking about now he knows it. He said, I'm not buying Japanese whiskey anymore. He told me because the rice whiskey is giving him a headache. I said, well, I wouldn't buy anything that's giving me a headache. Whereas in the Western world, it's mostly corn for that column still grain whiskey. And then they're using the barley malt whiskey, that 20%, all those different regions of Scotland to give it the flavor. But he was kind of put off by that grain alcohol. And then he was saying, I can taste it. You can taste it. But he's kind of backed off the hostility towards that a little bit. Because he's saying, well, some of these do taste pretty good, But he was sort of on a rant and rave about bourbon yesterday. You should have heard him, boy. He was going off. We tried Bullet Rye. I said, this tastes like Seagram 7 Crown. It does. He says, it does taste like Seagram 7 Crown. And then he was saying, it's terrible. This stuff's bad. Rant, rave. I said, I don't think it tastes bad. I hope it doesn't cost a lot, And then he was ranting and raving about some other stuff he bought. I bought that Weller. It wasn't that good. And I bought that Barton 1792. It wasn't that good either. I said, man, maybe you've gone off on bourbon. Maybe you just don't like bourbon anymore. He said, maybe so. I said, oh man, I ought to get all this on recording and see. This smells kind of rich. I pick up, yes, the undernose. You see a lot of these whiskeys, they're blended. They have a top side and a down and a bottom side smell and taste. So the bottom, the body of it is the grain alcohol. You know what I mean? The top side is the peat, the smoke. Is it really peaty? No. Is it very smoky? No. Is it a little beeswaxy? Yes. Does it smell bad? No, it doesn't smell bad. It's just not too elaborate, you know, it's just kind of basic, but not bad. All right, over here. I want to be careful not to glance too closely because I'm scared I'm gonna pick up that slight difference in shade. This one has grain alcohol. However, I'm not exactly picking up peat or smoke or barley malt or anything else. And if I remember right, the Inver house in the nose was pretty vacant, but I found the flavor had a lot of character. That was just one sampling now. I mean, you got to really sniff deep to pick up any kind of peat. It's there. All right. How many whiskeys are they using in this? I don't know. You'll never know. They'll never tell you. You know, with Cuddy Sark, they say what? It's like 30. And with J&B, it's 42, exactly 42 whiskeys. These, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say bad things about it. I just don't know. So the aroma, we have to go with this one. It's richer and it has more bountiful aroma. Is it better? A better aroma? Yes, I think so, but it isn't way better. And I don't even know if it's $3 a bottle better. So that's the question. If one wins, is it going to be $3 better? Now, if the Dant wins, it's automatic. You know, if it's a tie, Dant wins because $3 is $3. If Dant wins outright, then there is no dispute. It's a winner and it's $3 cheaper. You know what I mean? So, taste time. Yeah, peat, little smoke, little bit. Cereal grain. It's sort of like the flavor of like literally cereal, like you buy a box of cereal, you know, not the sweetened kind, but like say like a Cheerios, which has almost no sugar in it, or that Kix. It's just like cereal. Makes sense because that's what whiskey's made out of, cereal. All right. Yes. This is sweeter. More honey, nectar. Not that it contains any of that. It does not. I guess gluten, but gluten, you know, that kind of thing, that grain juice, basically. This one is a little more kind of grain whiskey, bland. I'm thinking, totally speculation again, that this one is a higher percentage of grain alcohol. It might be 80%. And the one over there might be maybe like only 75%. Once again, have no clue. Only guesses. Supposition, that sort of thing. So little Pete, little. How many people are going to buy Inver House and JW Dan and swish them around and get these Glencairn glasses and do a taste challenge? Probably one, me. Whiskey Scout did it, so two. All right, 2 people in the whole world. He said, well, what does the rest of the world do with it? Make mixed drinks? And it could be very basic, like pouring some in some Coke and drinking it at a barbecue. I mean, I don't think this stuff is too gourmet. And I don't think the utilization of it is very gourmet. I could be wrong. Some of the best families in America could be buying J.W. Dan Inver House. But I get a feeling that isn't the case. This one has more cachet, more smoke, more peat. Now, the guy down the street who used to live there, he was living there for a while. They were looking for a new house, but they said, try this Doers. I liked it. And the 12-year was better, you know, makes sense. 12 years as opposed to 3 years. But, you know, the Doers, I didn't find it was much different than these two. And I think in a blind taste test, it would be hard-pressed to beat these two. But it'd be a good deal more expensive. But you say, well, that's name. People are buying the name, not the whiskey. Yeah, I know, like with Jack Daniels or Budweiser or a wine brand. I know you're paying for the name. I think this one in my left hand is the Dant. I remember the Dant being a little more rich. You know, have a little bit of smoke, a little more peat profile. I think the Dant is a winner in price. It obviously is $3. And I think it's a winner in flavor, assuming I have it correct. Now, the next competition is going to be, oh, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to go through that. I have it all set up. I think I forgot to plug in Clan McGregor in my lineup. I have to bring that in because my nerves would be bad if I forgot the Clan McGregor. Because to me, Clan McGregor is like the champion of blended Scotch, you know, value priced blended Scotch or moderately priced blended Scotch. I think Clan McGregor would whip Doers. Now you might roll your eyes and say, get out of here. Well, hey, I think it would, but I don't know because I never did the taste challenge, so it's just talk. All right. I'm calling it. Scotch on Sunday morning. Don't worry, I went to church yesterday. I went to 6 o'clock mass of all things. Late, huh? At a vigil at Assumption of Mary, the Assumption of Mary. Oh, way out almost into the I think cane fields, sugar cane fields, whatever kind of crops are growing out there. Last stop before you get into the fields and the swamps. There's a grotto back there, and it was all Vietnamese. I couldn't understand anything except Chua, which means Lord. And the priest was saying something, you know, in Vietnamese. And then when I went up for communion, he said, the body of Christ. And then he went back to Vietnam. I said, well, he recognized I don't speak Vietnamese. And then after mass, he said, thank you for coming to this church. I said, you're welcome. And then I said, I should have said, you're welcome, Father. That was sort of disrespectful. But it's fascinating. I mean, I could kind of follow along to an extent. I mean, I had the missal was in English also. So I got two churches left to go to, and I've been to everyone in New Orleans. I got St. Nicholas, Amira, Carpatho, Byzantine Eastern Rite Church. That'll be different. And then the St. Anne, what is it? St. Anne Titang. You say that sounds Vietnamese. It is in Marrero. So we'll see what those are like. I'm calling it, man. I think this is the Dant. It is J.W. Dant. J.W. Dant wins, the clear winner. Sorry, Inver House, you gave it a good try, but you lose. You lose. J.W. Dant, if you want a good Scotch whiskey for only $8.99 a liter, that's your choice. Thanks for watching this video production. Now it's off to watch the morning news. I'll be back.